You know, I don't think anyone listening understands how weird it is to see Josh dancing to music we can't hear. It's like
I can hear it. It's me going.
I didn't say you couldn't hear it. I said we can't hear it.
Yep.
That was beautiful.
I know.
Can you do that backwards?
Oh, wait. Vagina dentata! Vagina dentata!
Josh, I had Bailey from We Come From Beneath the Sea, or whatever the fuck their podcast is called. Bailey, I'm sorry. I'm slightly on another planet right now. Asked me about like how much Jerry cost to do our music, and I'm like, no, that's Josh. He thought
that
Jerry
was my
did our
band,
yeah.
and that's me singing over top of my old band, that a song that never had lyrics. So I was like, fuck it. I'm taking it, making my own lyrics, and making it for the podcast. Suck a dick.
On a side note, I just looked over to IMDb. I didn't know they made a Hostel 3. I knew they made 2 Hostels. Did they just make a Hostel 3? Because I just saw on IMDb.
What?
I'm very confused.
Okay, ADHD drawer coming out already. We didn't even say, hey, we're Murder Moose Podcast. Part of the Slashing Gal. Yeah, do it, Rod. Do it. That was
It's
your
in
cue.
the game.
Oh,
It's in
wait.
the game.
No, the whole thing. I didn't even say it.
We are Murder Moose, a horror podcast, part of the Slashing Cast podcast network.
It's in the game.
In the teeth.
Oh my God.
In the butthole.
I went this week because I accidentally went to the mall at 2 of the worst times. Well, not accidentally the first time. I dropped Diane off at like noon, right before Christmas. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'll pick you up when you're off. I came like 3 hours early, like at dinner time. It was the worst time getting a parking spot. And I was like, oh, are you ready to go? She's like, yeah, I wish. And I was like, what? Why the fuck am I here? So I went and saw Anyone But You just because I had the time. And I was like, I'm not fucking leaving. I'm just going to go and see this random Anyone But You. And the person, what? That like, that movie with Sydney Sweeney. I was like, oh, she's cute. Let's go see this. And the girl like,
I don't know who
like
Sydney
ripping
Sweeney
tickets
is.
was like, this just for one? I was like, I'm like, you just, what the fuck? Why you got to make this weird? Like, I wasn't making this weird. You just fucking made this weird.
Don't make it weird.
No,
Yeah,
Josh,
don't make
you
it
made
weird.
You made it weird by going to Anyone But You by yourself. That was the weird part of this.
No, it wasn't. It was not weird.
No,
It's
shut up, Josh.
never
Shut up,
weird
Josh.
to see
Shut
a
up,
movie
Josh.
by
Shut up,
yourself.
Josh.
You can suck
It
my
is-
fucking dick. It is not a fucking.
I mean,
Go eat a hamburger.
eating as the meme king returned.
Oh yeah, hamburger. Right. I'm just.
Go eat a hamburger.
I'm hostile tonight. Suck my dick is just
Are you
something
hostile
I'm
part
saying
3?
like crazy.
Are you
Yeah.
hostile part 3?
Wait. Is this real? Now I gotta. Okay. ADHD. 3.
Okay, you guys talk for a
Lisa would
second.
like to take part in the podcast, just so you know.
No,
she's ready and willing.
I definitely saw this. It was.
I was gonna say, I thought there were like 18 of the Hostel movies.
I remember the poster vividly, and it had the guy from like one of those like girl shows that my ex was watching at the time.
I want to know what a girl show is, Josh.
Fucking
Is
no.
it lesbians? Is it like a
It's probably like Pretty Little Liars or something like that.
Yeah, it was like.
or Vampire Diaries? I watched a lot of Vampire Diaries.
Oh,
and there wasn't
the reason you just saw this is because that guy with the fucking guy liner from Teeth is in it. Hey,
Dude, I used to play softball with this dude, and he looks exactly like that guy, and I just couldn't stop thinking that it was him the whole time. Also, this movie, before we get into it, every time I see the real bad fake tattoos, and that was like such 90s new metal tattoos. It was like
They really were.
speaking of tattoos, I had the best time on Christmas Eve getting my my fun Mike Myers work on my leg, and I'm so happy.
God damn
I
it.
love it.
I'm back,
I'm
Josh.
like,
You gotta
oh, I'm in love with it.
Josh, the Rodster has returned.
Oh, he's back. Well, I gotta let him in. He's got to be nice to me now, though. Like if he wants back in, he's just got to be.
When have I not been nice to you, Josh?
There we go.
Josh, when have I
hold
not
the
been nice to you?
keys like this, the keys, and I had to put it back in. Okay, the
It just
kids
looks
are
like
back.
Josh. It looks like Josh wants to finger me, which I'm okay with. Just get consent, Josh.
What? You couldn't hear
Consent.
me?
I can hear you.
I said I have the keys. Oh wait.
I'm just saying I need to give you my consent before you put your fingers inside of me.
Well, if it's anything like this movie, apparently not. This movie has the worst men in the world.
Yeah.
Except for her father, her stepfather.
Yeah, he was good.
He was
I
a
mean,
great guy.
her brother was. We'll get into it when you get in the movie. Have you guys been watching anything else before we get into this whole shit show?
I did do my I have the tradition on Christmas Eve to always watch Die Hard. And this
Yep.
Christmas Eve I watched it in the chair getting tattooed, and I was like, this is probably the best time I've watched Die Hard, because I'm watching it with a friend that also loves Die Hard and getting Halloween tattoos on Christmas Eve. It's just
Dude,
the best
I was
Christmas
very
Eve.
sad. I'm very sad because I was supposed to get tattooed tomorrow, and my tattoo artist had to cancel because her mother passed away, and she has to sign. She had to sign for ashes, like her ashes. Are
Oh
being
my
delivered to
god!
her. And I'm not
That's
laughing.
not fun.
I'm laughing because it's fucking sad, and it's just like, oh, why? And so, like, I'm getting tattooed on Tuesday, so I'm
Well, that's not a
trying
big
to.
deal.
I'm filling out the rest of my arm, the bottom of my arm, and yeah, I'm happy because this has actually been what I've wanted to do for the whole. I don't even know if I'm going to get it all filled in. Probably not all of it, but
Kin, when are you getting tattooed? When is it happening? You tell me this.
It was supposed to be last weekend, but I didn't meet with anybody. And then I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll wait. And so it'll probably be end of February.
why didn't you go on an adventure? Why didn't you go to? Why didn't you go on an adventure and get tattooed
Yeah, come
on
to
your
Calgary.
vacation?
Maybe.
I know
Let
so
Josh-
many tattoo artists that I could be like, hey, you got a spot? My friend's in town. Do it up. And it would probably
Maybe.
happen.
Maybe.
Josh will even let you stay in his room, like at his house, and it will only be half of Airbnb cost. No, I'm just kidding.
If you need, yes, there's this, and there's this, and there's this. There's everything. Everything you need. Look, you could even stream from here.
I could. That's true.
It's like I have a
Weasel
stream
is-
set up.
Wow, this is the calmest I think I've ever seen Weasel. Weasel is just like, Mommy, I love you. Don't leave me. Don't leave me, mother. Mother, don't leave. Dude, I gotta send it to you, Ken. I don't, and Josh, but there's someone made these, this thing to put on a Sphinx cat's ass, and it makes it look like Dumbo, and its tail is the
That's
trunk.
funny.
And I was just like, I kind of don't send you
I've
things.
seen the jewel ones that you like put around their tail that dingles down their buttholes,
Yeah.
but
Dude, I've always said I want a hairless cat, and I want to name him Lucifer, and just like he's like that one cat, you know, the famous one that like just sits on top of the refrigerator and glares down at everyone, and like is just like iconic for being the most evil looking fucking cat you will ever see in your entire life. Also, rum is good. And
How was
Dude,
your
this-
guys' Christmas? Did you guys what did you get any fun things for Christmas?
it was better than I deserved. That's what the UPS guy said tonight, and I thought it was really cute. It was really good. It was really good. My dad got me an impact drill
Ooh.
and some drill bits and a like hand mixer thingy.
Nice.
I got one sweater that's a bonus. That was my Christmas. Why? I told you, when you're going through all the shit that I've been going through this year, Thanksgiving was rough. Fucking Christmas was rougher. I was sitting there crying during Christmas. It was just a nightmare. It's been a fucking hell of a year. 2023 has been a nightmare. And I'm still going though. And I'm ready for 2024 because 2023 is out and I'm going to be like the happiest man in the world. And I'm
Fuck
starting
yeah,
up the
dude.
year. I'm starting off the year with tattoos, man. I'm gonna get my tattoo and be a
Exactly.
happy little boy.
That's
Be a
how I see
hap-
it. Like, even if
Yeah.
I got like a whole bunch of fun stuff, a vacuum.
Hell yeah, dude. Vacuums are fucking badass Christmas
it's-
presents. I was stoked with my drill. Like,
No,
I'm
I'm
pumped.
definitely stoked with my vacuum because it's the one that has like that is more handheld type thing that you can take
Mhm.
everywhere. And I did my stairs, and my stairs have never been done better because it's one built to do fucking stairs. And I was like, yes.
This is such an adult conversation because I would love to have a vacuum like that because vacuuming stairs is an absolute
I know.
bitch.
Finding a vacuum that doesn't die from pet hair is just like the ultimate like. But I have to tell you guys because it will. So my ex works with this woman who you go, you're dumb. Like, she's a really not intelligent person, but her husband's even dumber. And
Dumb and Dumber.
yeah, it's basically Dumb and Dumber. The husband is so dumb. She's very pregnant, and he wanted to pay for her hospital for having the baby without insurance because he thought that was smart.
What?
And so the reason I mentioned that because, and so
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
He wanted to give her that for Christmas?
no, there was just a point of how dumb this man is. He didn't understand how much having a baby in a hospital costs. And he owns a gun shop and thinks that like he's like MAGA 101. And that I had to explain how stupid this motherfucker is. He bought her, she has nice pots and pans, and he bought her a $700 pots and pans for Christmas. And I'm like,
It's just like we want you to want to do things, okay?
I'm just gonna jump in front of a train. It's official. I'm jumping in front
That's
of
fair.
I'm jumping.
I have wanted to yeet myself into the sun all day yesterday and the day before, so like I feel you. But
In Canada,
I-
it costs nothing to have a baby.
it's like $30,000 to have a child in the U.S.
I think that's way more than that. If without
Yeah,
insurance,
it might be more now.
I think
Yeah,
$30,000 would be the hospital state, not all the other stuff.
probably.
I think
Yeah.
if you're having a baby with any amount of complications or any like, it's a couple, at least 100, if not $200,000.
Yeah.
Like,
But why do we? Never mind. You go ahead.
I was gonna say, I laughed. It made me laugh. Josh just made me think of. I was watching Crip. Do you know who Crip is? Ken,
I know the name. Yeah.
he's a pretty big Twitch streamer. He's been streaming for a long time. He streams Hearthstone, but like in Path of Exile. But he was talking about the other day.
That's why it sounds.
Yeah, he was talking about the other day about how like people in his chat were like, "Yeah, you get free healthcare again." And he's like, "Yeah, I used to get free healthcare, but now I make a lot of money, so now it's not free." And I was like, "Touche, sir, touche." This is why it's a true statement because it's that weird thing where in America, at least, where people make money, they're like, "Oh yeah," they start like they turn in they sell their soul so that they don't have to pay as many taxes and start voting Republican. And I'm like, "Yep, that's what explains a lot." Explains a lot. So, Josh, you watched Die Hard. I watched Die Hard and Die Hard 2 on over the last couple of days. Watched yesterday.
Oh, we watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation in Discord for movie night.
nice.
Well, movie day because we watched it on Christmas because Twitch shit itself.
Yeah, what was
I
going
still
on?
think it's just Twitch being Twitch. I still think one of the hardest times I've ever laughed was that first time I saw that movie and he goes down the hill with the industrial like lube and just like
Yeah.
I was like, this shit is hysterical. So, oh man. Okay, what else do we want to talk about before we go? I don't think like I haven't been in the movies or anything. I hear Aquaman 2's pretty okay and not doing well in
I have
theaters.
zero desire to see.
I
that.
literally
Like,
could have just
none.
saw it and went and saw Anyone But You. Like I saw, what is it? Aquaman 2's about to start because I went just because I had time right then, and I was like, what's starting right now? Oh, Aquaman 2. I was like, anything but that movie. Oh, I guess
Yeah.
it's
James-
anyone.
It's James Wan though.
I don't fucking care, man.
How is
don't
anyone
care.
How is anyone but you?
Better than Aquaman, I'll tell you that, and I haven't even seen it.
I think you can't say that without context though.
Sure can. I'm over it, man. I have superhero fatigue, and I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah. What I mean, next year's Marvel only has one movie coming out next year because of
I
the writer's
don't care.
strike.
I'm not
Are
even
they
going to
ill?
see it.
It's the writer's strike.
Oh.
So, but no, you're not. You know what the one Marvel movie that's coming out next year is?
Deadpool, probably.
What?
Yeah, Deadpool.
Yeah,
I
I'll
That's
just
the
skip
one,
it.
the Wolverine Deadpool
Yeah,
one,
yep,
right?
it is. And
Okay, I'll watch that one.
yeah, exactly. I'm watching Ryan Reynolds in an R-rated Marvel movie. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck yeah, I am. Especially
I
after,
might.
I don't know if you guys didn't see it, but at the end credit scene of the Marvels had Fraser as Beast in it. So I'm like, yes, he's gonna be killing all the Fox Cinematic Marvel universe, and I'm very happy about it.
I've started watching Dance Moms again. I'm sorry. But I will say, for anybody who gives
I'm
a
sorry.
flying fuck about any of it, JoJo Siwa started on Dance Moms, or at least that's like how I feel she started. Well, she started on a different Abby Lee Miller show. But anyway, her season just started, and I love her and hate her at the same time. And I was like, this is the best thing ever, because she's like the first child that like stands up to Abby in the slightest. And I'm like, oh, you're you fabulous. And Mighty Nine.
Can I understand the Mighty Nine thing? I understand that. But you're watching Dance Moms. When you watch 2 episodes of that, you could have watched Psycho Gorman already. And I'm going to tell you this. Psycho Gorman is infinitely more entertaining than Dance Moms. Maybe it's 3 episodes because I don't know how much. Is it an hour show or half an hour show?
It's like 23 minutes.
Okay, so it would have been like 4 episodes. And I'm sure you do more than 4 episodes in a sitting, right? Yeah,
it depends.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought, Ken. Psych. You even said you would watch Psycho Gorman, or did you have to wait till Josh's Psycho Gorman tattoo? I forget what the.
I think I said once Josh gets a Psycho Gorman tattoo, but you never know. I may get froggy.
No, you said you'd watch it before I get tattooed.
I said I'd watch it
or else
before
I
he
get to
gets tattooed.
tattoo you.
Oh, that might be fun, actually.
Yeah, but I'm not good
can't-
at it because I've never done it.
I don't care. It still might be fun.
Ken just wants tattoos. She doesn't care what they are. or
Oh,
how
wait.
good they are.
Poke me with your needles.
Dude.
Put ink in my skin.
Dude, that's what I'm. Dude, that's why I'm getting was supposed to get another tattoo tomorrow. At this point, I'm just like, give me ink in my skin because it's fucking therapy. It's the most cathartic thing in the fucking world.
My
Really?
therapist was literally like, bitch, go get a fucking tattoo. And I'm like, yeah. And then I still haven't done it. So I don't know, man. Why do I pay for
Dude,
therapy if I don't do what I'm told?
My therapist got me to buy watercolors and draw paint a very bad like painting that's upstairs in my bedroom because she thought
That's
I should
sweet, though.
watercolor. And I'm like,
Watercolor is fun. You could throw salt on it. You can do all kinds of cool shit with watercolor.
why would you throw salt on watercolor?
It pulls the water and the ink into a location to give it a different effect.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
You can also use like a straw and like blow air, and it'll like push the water paint, like the watercolor, like, you know, different directions. There's a lot of cool shit you can do with watercolor. I used to watercolor.
As long as I don't use my like $20-something bottle of like Himalayan salt with like fucking like.
Just do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
For the record, I'm not saying dump a fuckload. I'm saying do a little sprinkle here.
And then
Like
put
the-
that
like the
straw in your
salt-
mouth and then blow it in your butt.
Like the salt man,
Yeah.
like the salt man meme.
Yeah, like the salt man.
Whee! Okay. We are episode 169 tonight, so we are going to dive in
Giggity!
to a movie that is, I think, the scariest movie we've ever watched on this podcast, and it's not even close. We are talking about Teeth from 2007. Yes. In the synopsis, if you don't know, it reads as follows. Still a stranger to her own body, a high school student discovers she has a physical advantage when she becomes the object of male violence.
Dum, dum,
I-
dum.
before we
Wait.
go too far,
Okay. I'm going to.
before we go too far,
Yes.
I must preface this episode by saying we are going to be diving a lot into purity culture. We are going to be talking about a lot of religion regarding sexual activities, abstinence, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Because while the movie is terrifying for many reasons, for some of us, that was one of the larger concerns and larger fears. So before we go super far into it, I just want to give you that heads up because I am a very opinionated person when it comes to purity culture.
Ken, we told Ken before the episode, she is in charge of this shit show today. And that means that, like, she gets to guide it. So, Ken, proceed. The balls that are, saggy and one's bigger than the other and they're kind of hanging in your court. The balls are in your court.
All right, well, then let's get started. So Teeth came out in 2007 at the Sundance Film Festival the day after my birthday. So it was January 19, 2007. And it had a limited release on my birthday the next year in the United States. It had a budget of $2 million. Box office cleared $2.3 million. So, woohoo! Turns out I don't think that people... I think that over the years it's definitely taken off and done a lot better because of just how wild the subject matter is and how over the top it feels. We were talking before the podcast really got going about some of the overarching concepts, and we'll get into those a little bit. But for starters, if you have seen this movie, tell us. You can tweet at me, you can tweet at Murder Moose, you can tweet at Rod, you can tweet at Josh, whoever. Tell us if you felt the movie was based on satire or not. Because for those of you that are not familiar with the movie Teeth, as Rod mentioned, it is about a teenage girl who is unfamiliar with her body because she's been brought up in a purity culture. For those not familiar with purity culture, we will be going down that rabbit hole as well. So stay tuned. But as she's exploring and learning more about herself, she finds that she has a certain issue that others probably don't have, but she wouldn't know because sex is so horribly viewed upon and women's anatomy is so horribly viewed upon.
The movie does a really good job of like addressing the fucking stupid double standards in America, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I assume... But you can correct me if you're listening to this in like fucking Finland or some shit like that, that a lot of the world is very similar. But like when the scene where they're like viewing the human anatomy book and they're like, oh, here's a cock. And it's just like, the penis and all the insides of that. And then they get to the vagina page and they have like one of those like golden stickers that's like they use on like I think of those in like book fairs, like when you're like covering things up in plastic and shit like that, and covering up the vagina, and they're all like, what's a vagina look like? And this, I guess, to be fair, 2007, if you're not old enough to remember 2007 or you were younger, 2007 porn was on the internet, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like today where you had like the sense, like the hubs of porn, like the hubs, the tubes. I did that without even thinking about that. But yeah, so 2007 wasn't as, easily accessible porn. Like I'll take you back to 2007. In 2007, you were usually downloading porn from sites like, like, I don't know what it was, like whatever, like Pirate Bay's version of 2007. I can't think of the name.
LimeWire.
Yeah, LimeWire.
Share.
LimeWire, I think, is a big one. Yeah. But you were usually downloading porn from like torrent sites and shit like that, where it was like DVDs and shit being uploaded and then downloaded on that stuff. So it wasn't like 2007 was like you were getting good, like better internet, but like still it wasn't like now where you can go like jerk off on your phone because you have like, dude. And I have to say another thing.
You were going to go down a path there. You were going to go down a path, but then you didn't.
There's a path, but I want to go down this path now. The step porn that's on those sites now, it just gave me creepy feelings watching this movie because of all this, like the step porny feels of this movie, and I'm just like, oh, I forgot about this because I didn't ever watch all this movie before. But
I feel like everyone is just like, you know what? If we're gonna upload something, we're just gonna put the word "step" in front of it, and then it's gonna get more views.
Clickbait.
Yeah. The thought of step porn still grosses me out. But can continue. You see what I did there?
Oh, no, that's good. Speaking of it being 2007 and kind of like, talking about porn and everything of that time period, I'm going to dive backwards just a smidgen and bring up the fact that in 2007,
Smidgen pigeon.
roughly towards the end of the, what is it? The unts? What do we call this? The aughts towards the late aughts.
I call
purity culture had started to calm down pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Purity culture really took off in the late 1990s. There were multiple different facets of purity culture that were kind of taking the world by storm, but primarily in the U.S. There was backing. I want to say that the government backed Silver Ring thing. No, they backed True Love Waits. Put like $1 million. The government put roughly $1 million into No, it was in True Love Waits. And if you're not familiar with these, the craziness of these, because I remember taking part in True Love Waits, is basically at a very young age, you're introduced to this concept that sex outside of marriage is bad. Sex with same-sex partner is bad. Sexual activities involving, masturbation or looking at porn or anything that might stimulate you in that way is bad. So they would take you to different certain levels, obviously were more extensive than others. There were things like purity balls where you would go with your father as a girl, and your father would swear to protect your virginity, and you would swear to stay pure until marriage. And yeah, there was stuff for boys, but girls were the primary focus. Yeah. Don't get it twisted. The Jonas Brothers tried to make it cool for boys, but don't get it twisted.
I have to say, the father-daughter thing is so incredibly creepy. And we live in a time where the fucking House, what's his name, Mike Johnston, the leader, the minority or the majority leader of the House of Representatives in the United States of America, is on an app where him and his 17-year-old son get alerts if they look at porn. That's just fucking insane. But like the father-daughter shit is just like, it is in their mind as sweet, but everyone outside of that, me at least, it comes off as the fucking just like creepiest shit in the world.
I think it's very... There's ways that purity culture can never function, because fuck all of that trying to even justify any facet of it. There's jumping back into it a little bit, and then I can stick those feet back in my mouth in a second. I don't know if you guys remember this. I don't know, if you two, I don't know how popular purity culture was in Canada, but I don't know if you remember the Jonas Brothers, Miley Cyrus, all of them taking a pledge that they were not going to have sex, and they had their rings.
But I fucking loved the Jonas Brothers because their music slapped and the drums were fucking dope. So I was into the Jonas Brothers.
They recently discussed their purity culture and everything pretty recently, and it was very, very interesting.
I remember in 2007, like, Jonas Brothers were hard on my playlist. Like, they were going hard.
Have you guys seen the South Park with Mickey Mouse and the Jonas Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was way after the whole like actual thing, but yeah.
They've recently come out and said that it was like the worst thing that they ever did. That it screwed up their self-esteem and messed with them a lot. And there's a lot of studies right now coming out about just how damaging purity culture was.
Of course,
to an entire
you're stunting
generation.
Fucking like normal feelings that
exactly.
Yeah, and if you suppress something that is like a normal and should be like openly talked about and explained correctly, so there's like an understanding of what's right, what's wrong, what, when, how. So there's not
Well,
this
and-
like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Oh shit. And then you create, those, what you were talking about this last week, right, Rod? Like the things that are suppressed when you're a kid turn out to be like kinks or something later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing too that purity culture also, like certain more extremist forms, but not even extremist, is like no dating, don't form a relationship.
Yeah.
If you do have dates, they're more of group dates, or you're courting, but you're definitely not dating. There's an individual.
Definitely
and I was so
not
excited
docking
when
either.
I saw this. Not docking. I was so excited when I saw this. When I want to say I was like 15 or 16, I was given a book by the author Joshwrb that's called I Kissed Dating Goodbye. And in this book, it discusses on ways to improve the secular dating scene, and how to be that singleness is not a bad thing, and that being single is not being selfish, and basically like dating, what you needed to do is to put up a facade. There's a lot to it, and it's all Christian based. And dude, like, that whole book fucked me up. And the best part of it being that it was given to me by a family friend who was concerned because I was dating someone. Little did he know I had lost that virginity a long time ago, and it wasn't any of his fucking business. But
What a dick.
it's still like it. And I mean, the same thing happened with my very religious uncle. We went to see Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and afterwards we had to sit down as a group and discuss how giving up your virginity to a boy was bad, and how she's never going to feel the same. It was taught in our schools. It was taught in our churches. It was, explained to us that sex is evil. Sex makes you a sinner. You will die. Like, you're
Oh my
going to burn in the
God.
pits of hell. We had promise rings. We had the rings. Like, it wasn't,
Wow.
this wasn't just like something that was made up in the world. This was the South.
Yep.
Like, it just was always, you wait until marriage. You wait until marriage.
America
I have
is
to
a horror
say-
fucking movie. I
It
just gotta
is.
say,
It
America's
really
a fucking
is.
horror movie.
I do have to follow up really quickly, though, and say the part that made me really happy, because I Kissed Dating Goodbye came out in 1997. Joshwrb in 2016 started stating that he regretted writing the book. In 2017, he announced that he hated writing the book, and he apologized, and I think they pulled it in Canada. And then in 2018, he and his wife announced that they were getting a divorce and that he's no longer Christian.
So
Blame
I have to ask-
Canada.
One more follow-up with this. The individual that gave me this book, who was so concerned about me potentially getting pregnant or whatever the case may be, his young teenage daughter got pregnant and had a baby.
I don't want to stop you, Ken. I just have to say that the thing that happens, and that these motherfuckers never acknowledge, these motherfuckers get married at like 18, because when you're 18,
They're so desperate
You're-
for the cock. They're
Yeah.
so desperate
or
for the
puss.
puss.
Yeah, you're just all the. It's one of the better things about this movie that they turn up, but like, these people are like, you have these normal kids who, because of that bullshit in their heads, are like, I can't stop. Like, there are other creeps in this movie, don't get me wrong, but they get married at 18 because of all this bullshit we're talking about, right out of high school. And guess what their divorce rates are? They're not fantastic. One, they're the ones who are at 30, have 4 kids and whatever, but like, and then they get divorced at 35. Like, dude, jumping into the fucking dating scene at like 40, it's like, you see how, like, that's one of the scary things is, like, I don't care if you have a kid. When you have 4 at 35, I'm just like, that's a little too much for my plate. And okay. Yeah. Continue.
No, I mean, and that's what happens. And there's a lot that goes into that as well. Like, we were kind of touching on it. You can't handle relationships. You don't know how to address them. You don't know how to deal with, if you're not allowed to date, how do you know how to react in a situation when you are with somebody else, when you are with a significant other? Teeth does an incredible job bringing this back around, because I promise that this all goes hand in hand. That is the entire like premise of this movie is true love waits. And even though they don't call it true love waits, they don't call it a silver ring thing, it's all about purity culture. They wear red purity rings. It's very cult-like in that, you know, they're all stating different phrases and things that you would say in those situations.
It's
and
the
of course it goes back to God.
They're all repeating it like a fucking cult, like Ken saying. They're like they're all like, it's like Hitler Youth. Like it's that thing where you're all saying something at the exact same time. Like you don't have any thought in it. You're just repeating shit that's been drilled in your head over and over and over and over. Because when you're doing that kind of shit, you're not saying shit that you've heard 3 times. You've been dozens and dozens of times you've had that shit drilled in your head.
Yeah, exactly. There's sorry, Weasel definitely just fell off the desk.
I just watched Weasel go blump.
There's in Teeth, the main character is handling and dealing with purity culture. Again, they like Rod mentioned, they're opening up their science textbook and they're looking at the penis and they're looking at the anatomy of the penis, and they flip to the vagina and you can't see anything, and one of the kids says vulva, and it's this whole thing, and everybody's acting all like, you know, all the purity kids are like, ooh, like, oh, I can't believe you said that, you know, sinner, whatever. And they can't let it go. And since she's never learned anything about her own anatomy, she doesn't know how stuff works. She doesn't understand like what's wrong with her. Why is this happening? And in case you haven't figured it out, because we have kind of danced around it, she has something called vagina dentata, which is where you have teeth in your vagina. And the story unfolds where, you know, she's raped. Like her first sexual interaction as a child is her sexually assaulted.
Yep.
And then as a teenager, she's raped. And she is able to kind of hold her own, even though she doesn't realize it, by chomping dude's dick off with her vagina dentata. It's great. But she then has to deal with the shame of that.
No, this is Marvel done right.
She has to deal with the shame of carrying around the fact that she's broken her sacred vow.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Wrong one. Sorry.
That's okay. She's broken her sacred vow. She's lost that connection with God. She's lost that connection with a future husband. And she put herself in that situation in her mind, and she was raped. And now she has to live with that.
That first one is so fucking uncomfortable. Like, it's the kid that she trusts the most. They're having an actual connection, and it's showing just how fucked they are in this situation that they're in. And it turns the men in this movie to, they're all just the fucking worst. None of them they're all fucked in the head. They all have, there's miswiring, especially the doctor scene. You're just
the doctor is the worst.
Doctor scene makes me so uncomfortable.
I know. I'm just like, this is where and he even says it too. There's no judging in this room. You're supposed to feel like you're very vulnerable. This whole movie, it's showing how vulnerable, you know, sex can be, especially at that age. It's not, and that's why it's important to have a conversation and to educate and to make sure that, they're having to sneak around. They're sneaking around in a cave, and then he's like, I haven't fucking masturbated since Easter. Oh, and this like rage case. Yeah, it's just this whole movie. I can understand why people get so uncomfortable, but the thing I remember the most is just the like how fucking metal she is at the end, just like boom, boom, dick balls. I'm just like, like fuck.
At the very end, it turns into almost a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
like, especially the last scene.
Embracing
the
like inner demon, and it's just fucking. She is like, fuck it. I am like Medusa, Fucking let's go.
I would have too. Like, fuck that. Like, you don't teach your kids anything. They learn things on their own, and this is what she's discovered. Men are gross in her world. Like,
They're all
like I said, the only man
disgusting.
in that world that was good was her father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was a good man in this movie.
And that's why I kind of talked to, like, was talking with these two about it before, like, the podcast, about, like, is the level of satire this film actually is. Because as we've been doing this, as long as we've been doing it, it's like, you take the regular world and you turn it up a little bit like this. It's kind of like the beginning of Thanksgiving, right? Where it's like that satire of like consumerism,
totally.
right? And it's you take the normal set culture, like the scene, like the doctor scene's very like satired up of like it's like the fears of
Well,
a woman,
with him
right?
like yelling, vagina dentata, vagina.
Yeah.
That's totally turned up
Yeah.
to 11. That's like the Thanksgiving. At least there was no arm breaking. I'm good. I'm good.
And then
No arm breaking.
And then you have the 10 things I hate about you, like where the guy is like making bets to bang her while he's fucking her, and like, dude, that was the worst decision you've ever made.
Yeah.
Which is, I still laugh at like him like picking up his dick and like calling his mom on his garage. He's like,
I will say the one thing that, like, they do show this guy who is not in this purity culture turns out being an absolute piece of shit too. So I still feel like the overall commentary is on purity culture. I still feel like that's your overall thing. But, and her stepbrother is a piece of shit.
Oh
but
my
I
God.
think
He's the fucking worst.
he is horrible.
Guyliner.
There's a lot of scenes in that movie that make me very uncomfortable and make a lot of people uncomfortable for both sides.
I have to ask, I wonder like how many people who saw Teeth for the first time and had no idea, like at film festivals especially, that opening scene is you're just like, what happened? And then, but if you know in it what the premise of the movie is, you're like, is one of the most unsettling scenes because it's a fucking little kid just trying to finger bang was she like 3 or 4? So he's like, it's these,
Yeah.
and it's not as creepy because he's a little kid too, but it's still like this thing that you know shouldn't be happening, and it's just like you're like, and it's that sign of you see what this piece of shit turns into, and like kind of like what the whole like secondary setup of this whole entire film is. This piece of shit getting his, you know, like his like, you know, payoff for being the garbage human being he is. Like it's like that scene where he's banging that chick doggy style while his stepmom is just like in the hallway, and you're just like, you knew he was a piece of shit, but that scene you're just like, what the fuck?
My whole thing too with him, like, it's not a whole thing, it was just a little thing that was brought up because we watched it as a community. When he's showing the tip of his finger and they're making this whole big thing about his finger, and I was like, okay, he got that happened to him when he was like little. I literally had a drill go through my finger down to the bone in September, and you can't, like, there's a little tiny hump right there, like the whole chunk of that part of my finger was gone. Like, really?
I think also
Really?
some people scar differently. You know, it's like healing and how well you can scar, like all that shit. It's. I mean, you have to wonder like how many stitches you needed or whatnot, because they would have probably taken that kid in for like, because his finger was about to fall off on the end. You know what I mean?
It was just the tip. Like, fuck, I've had
Just
the
the
tip of my
tip.
finger cut off.
That's what she
The
said.
Dane
Just the
Cook
tip.
game, just the tip. I mean, the Dane Cook has similarities with the stuff. If you don't know, Dane Cook, who's in his he might be 50 at this point, just married a 22-year-old or something that he had been dating since she was like 18.
Since she was 18, but we all know based on the math that they dropped, she definitely was younger.
Dude, I'm sorry.
Dude, that guy though was trying to fuck my friends in school. I had a friend when I was like 16, he was hitting her up and like
Dude.
all up in her MySpace DMs, and she met up with him at a show, and like he's fucking gross.
Dude, I'm sorry. Anyone in their 40s or like, I look at fucking 25-year-olds and I'm like, you are way too fucking young. You're, let alone 18-year-olds. I'm just like, ugh, ugh, ugh. You have nothing in common. And I understand sticking your dick in 18-year-olds is like, oh, but like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's just,
This is where Rod
creeps me
makes a
out.
whole bunch of just sounds for 3 minutes.
The thing though is that like saying, you know, when guys like when they did the countdowns and stuff for when girls turn 18,
like, yeah,
and,
like
you
the
know,
Olsen
Oh my
twins.
God.
That was the
the
creepiest
Olsen
one of all
twins,
time.
Yeah,
or the ones with Emma, what's her name? The girl who played Hermione.
Oh, Emma.
Don't
Watson.
Yeah,
Yeah. When she was 17, the day that she like turned 18, somebody did an upskirt photo of her and they were allowed to publish it because she had just turned 18, and if they had done it the day before it would have been child porn, and she was like, how does this work? Like,
Oh my
why is that
God.
okay? Why is that acceptable? Like shit like that. Or, you know, the Teeth does a really good job of shining a light on things that I think if you watch it the first time, you watch it for the shock value. You go in, you're like, oh my God, have you heard about this movie? You watch it and you're like, oh,
Well,
it's
also,
terrible. Like, oh,
I'm trying to
cocks
think
and everything.
how old was I in 2007? Like, you know,
I was 17.
So yeah, so like, I don't do math, but I was a little older.
No, mine's easy because I was born in 90.
You were
so
like
you just
21, Josh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I was younger, but still, like, it's a lot different now. I have, you know, I have kids. I'm older, and I saw this a long time ago when I was in like my first relationship with someone too, like long term, and her and I were still like very adolescent and stuff. So we were watching it through like almost the character's eyes, I guess, right? So now I'm seeing it through like a parent's eyes, and it's a whole other level of creepy watching it back and not just seeing it for that shock value and the one scene that I remember, the metal fucking dropping dick and just becoming badass chick scene. That's what I'm like, this movie's nutty and fun and whatever, and it's really not that fun. It's fucked up, and it's definitely a commentary on,
uncomfortable.
yeah, it's very uncomfortable, but it does a great job. The indie vibes it has also gets strung along by a really good like choice of music, and it has this like weird, it feels polished and well done, but then like Rod was saying, some of the acting and some of the like satire things, it almost doesn't feel intentional, but I don't know. I think it actually was because of,
It has to be. Yeah.
yeah, and like I really enjoyed it more this time around because it felt really well put together. And
It's
we've seen a lot of bad
definitely-
movies, so yeah.
It definitely shows and gives off those vibes of the late 90s, early aughts, teen revival, purity culture vibe. They do a great job of it.
Yep.
A great job of it.
it's child abuse, man. I hate to say it like that, but it's child abuse. It's I think religion as a whole, when
Oh, yeah.
forced upon children, is child abuse. But like, this shows you what you can do and what you can warp and what you can do. And like, I grew up Catholic, dude, and Catholicism is as
Brutal.
a 40-year-old, like, I joked most of my 30s, and like, it is coming to terms with a lot of things in therapy now. But like, Catholic guilt is a real thing, man, because when you've been told that like all your natural feelings and like urges and shit are wrong and evil and gonna make you go to hell, masturbation, it was one of the most natural common things you can do, and it's good for you as a man, good for you as a woman. It releases stress. Men, it fucking clears that prostate out so you don't fucking get prostate cancer, and making you feel guilty for shit. Like, I don't think kids should be having sex, don't get me wrong, but like, you're sitting here going, the way they handle it and the way they do it and the way they make you feel about it, it is warping your sense of reality. It's warping your sense of what the natural state of human beings are, what the natural state of urges, it's like, it's the shit that does like all that stuff. It's like the same thing. If you did that to a kid about food, you get eating disorders, right? Like, can you know, you've gone through and you've talked about eating disorders and you've all the stuff you've gone through. That shit warps you because it's like, Classy Katie talks about it all the time. Her mother, when she was real little, was was putting her and her sister on like fucking Weight Watchers and shit when she wasn't even fat because she was afraid she was going to get fat. It's all that shit where you just warp the fucking minds of your children, and you sit there and go, what parenting can do and what parenting does are two very, very, very different things, because it's like, this could happen. This happens.
Well, and I think some of that, though, like, to kind of step in and defend my parents, for instance, like, they were doing the best that they knew to do, which was keeping me involved in the church and keeping me active. And like, they weren't just out, like, you know, they weren't shoving religion down my throat. And in fact, when I was younger, I wanted to be involved in the church, but we did adhere to a lot of those same values and whatnot. It's hard to, looking back at it now after helping raise a boy who will be 18 this year, like, growing up with him, basically, like, you know, you don't know the right answers to things, and you don't know if what you're doing, if it's right or wrong, and you do the best you can, and then you try to work through that. And like, his stuff, like, I'm not obviously going to discuss how we handled all of that because that's very personal, but it's interesting, the decisions that you think you would make and then the decisions you do make. And then when you look back and think, oh, maybe I should have done it the way I originally was going to do it. Like, but it's interesting to kind of see.
And I'm not one of my comments and commenting on it is not all like judgmental on all parties involved, because there are plenty of people who, like you're talking about, your parents who were doing this stuff to like have you involved in a community. I just don't think that we fully are aware. And I think I think people, millennials and younger, are way more aware because of the social media and the like, it's become clearer as that information spreads out that what this does to people, right? It's not just this, like, you have these victims, and I'm going to say the term victim because it very much is the case.
Oh no, we lost Rod. I feel that he's going to probably begin discussing victims as a whole. There he is.
But yeah, these victims who are able to spread this information about what is done to them and what the effects of it as adults. And I just think that information and spreading it, and like, it gives a clearer case of the outcomes of something. Like, it's like all the shit where like people are like, oh yeah, like, do you ever hear about, like, my dad talks about it all the time, like, he was born in 1951, he played high school football, you know, in the 60s, like, they had to drink like salt water because the science at the time was fucking like, that was like how you stay hydrated, and it's just shit that like doesn't make sense now, and doesn't, like, you just go, oh okay. And so it's just, I think it's a eye-opening experience, and this is really kind of on the precipice of when the internet was alive.
Did you say precipice on purpose?
Precipice, but
I
2007
swear
in context,
you just said precipice, and we're talking about teeth, so I don't know. Did you say precipice?
I just want to say 2007 was the year YouTube came out. Okay, and that's all I had to say. You could continue. There was a lot of points I was making with that.
Kin-
YouTube was out before 2007.
No,
Did
it
he
wasn't.
just say you
No, it
can
wasn't.
continue? He said you can precipice
the-
continue.
What year did YouTube come out, Ken? Because it was 2007, so I'm just curious.
2005. Bitch,
Okay.
I grew up in this time frame.
I
I
did too!
remember.
I did
No,
too.
you were older.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
in high school.
she just slapped
2000
you with a dick.
Guess what year I graduated
this.
from high school? 2002.
I'm
See,
03.
I was in high school. I was in it. I was in deep.
When did you graduate,
I was
that's
in
Kin?
the Facebook fields, the .edu shit.
That's why.
I was
That's
there.
why you had to go to purity culture because you were in it, Ken.
I was in too deep, and I'm trying to keep
All the blood of my head
the
instead
blood in my head
of
instead of
going under.
Speaking of which, so it just as a random side note about purity culture and religion, I found this a little while ago, and I wanted to bring it up. The catchphrase / slogan / whatever the fuck you want to call it for True Love Waits is 1 Thessalonians 4:3-4, and it is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you'll avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable. There you go. But if you'd like to, we can also go into Handmaid's Tale level Bible verses.
I've
And why
never
are you
watched,
eating shrimp? And
I've
why
never
are you
watched-
wearing mixed fabrics for your garments?
The only thing I know about Handmaid's Tale, I know the general like concepts of it. I've never watched it, and I know that it's the chick from The Invisible Man. Those are the two things I know about Handmaid's Tale, and that Brooklyn Nine-Nine did the episode where like the Halloween where they had all the people coming out dressed up like the Handmaid's Tale on the Halloween episode. But that's about all I
I have
know
that
about it.
costume. I just don't know where I want to wear it because I'm afraid I'll get murdered if I wear it here. So
I mean, again, we want to re-emphasize, especially if you're listening to this not being in America. America's a very, very weird place.
It's a
And
horror movie.
Every state
it's
is
just
basically
getting worse. And
I know, but
worse.
every state is like a European country, and every state, including the one Ken lives in, below a certain like radius that votes for Republicans, wants things to go backwards
Yes.
because that's when they had power, and that's when like minorities didn't vote and shit like this. And I'm saying this on a fucking state. The funny thing is, and it's not funny, but the thing is that the whole thing about abortion in America, especially, they make these justifications that abortion's about the lives of the baby. No. The reason why Republicans, especially Republicans, want abortion banned is because the number one leading faction that has abortions are white people. And these people all have it in their fucking twisted little heads that if they stop white people from having abortions, they won't become like white people are supposed to become like the minority in America by like 2050. I don't even know if it's that late. And it's a white supremacy thing. Stopping abortion is a white supremacy thing.
I think part of it's that, and part of it's cannon fodder for capitalism. But there's the overall thing is it's just control.
Yeah.
Like, how do you control people? You put them in a situation where they have to continue to work and do all this other stuff to raise children that they may not want, that then get into a system that they can't handle. It's a control.
I mean, and control has been a thing about politicians. Republicans have focused on it a long time. Guess why we're paying student loans like we are now in 2023? Because Richard Nixon's a piece of shit, or was a piece of shit, and may he rot in hell for all eternity, if there is such a thing as hell. If not, I hope he keeps getting reincarnated and getting fucked in the ass by a horse and dying and then repeat. I just hope, and I hope every time it lasts longer. Like it doesn't just like, I just hope he gets violated by a horse cock like Mr. Hands, just like come over and over and over again. Fuck you, Richard Nixon, you evil, evil piece of shit.
There you have it.
Yep. God. I have to say, I just looked at my timer and we've already gone an hour, and it doesn't feel like that because it's been like there's been a lot of cool stuff to talk about, and we can keep going. And I don't give a fuck as long as, but yeah, I just said that. So
I just think personally, if you're going to watch this, go into it, watch it open-minded. I mean, at this point, I don't know if you'd go in, watch it open-minded, but if you do, go in, watch it open-minded, have fun, giggle, be uncomfortable, but then go back and watch it again. And just really sit down and look at what it's saying. I did see somebody online that was like, this is a feminist wet dream. All it's doing is showing that all men are evil. No, it's not showing all men are evil. Again, her stepfather is amazing. It's showing what can happen with little education provided, because you've got boys acting out, you've got girls acting out, you've got the non-religion kids acting out.
It's a trap.
It's all a trap.
I honestly think that the only person like truly depicted it, there are like two characters depicted as you call evil, and that's the doctor and the stepbrother. Like those two are depicted evil. I think every other character in this movie is just like caught up in these fucked up culture. Like the first guy especially, you see what happens. The other guy, the guy who gets his dick put back on, or they show it getting put back on, he's a piece of shit, but he's like a high school boy piece of shit. He's
a high school boy. Like, and not that that's an excuse. We should never use the excuse of boys will be boys.
No,
we're just stating from that perspective.
Yeah,
that's not uncommon for that time frame to how boys were.
Well, yeah, it's a very much like they're like turning up what those teenage boy tendencies. And like, let's be honest, man, I know I did some fucked up shit as a teenage boy. When you're horny, like the hormones are just fucking like just amazing. And him especially is like that character that you're just like, oh, he's a Chad, but he's a horny Chad, but like he's not evil. I think the only two characters in this whole movie that are evil, like I said, are the doctor, who is completely evil, and a character that isn't that far off. Dude, how often do we find out about dentists who like have been like doing creepy shit while people are knocked out? Like it happens.
I'm pretty sure I've talked about my experience with a dentist. So
I don't know, not on here, but like you don't have to, you don't want to.
Oh no, I don't mind talking about it. There was a local dentist when I was growing up here. He was like, we had just moved here, we needed to find a dentist, and like the first couple times my parents went back with me, and then one time I went back by myself because my grandmother had taken me, and he was cleaning my teeth, and he was like, oh, you produce a lot of saliva. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, when you grow up, you're going to be a really good kisser.
Oh, yeah. I remember you saying that now. Yeah. It's just like.
Turns out dude was arrested for child porn, like lots of child porn. So medical professionals, you have to be really careful with. And
it's weird, and it's a thing where like I don't know about you guys, like I mean this is probably more to you because I don't know how often Josh actually goes to therapy. Like I feel more comfortable with women therapists than I do men, because I feel like men, it's a thing where it's like I feel like that concept with men just I feel less comfortable with, and it's because of shit like this. It's that you know what a man is capable of, and like in my own like weird like, and I don't know, as a guy who's most of my friends are women at this point, it makes sense. Like it's I say 5 to 1 for every 5 women friends I have one guy friend at this point. It's not like it's I feel more comfortable around women, and it's just because I don't know, man. And I know lots of women who are the other way around, like women who are the opposite. It's you don't always feel as comfortable with your own sex because of, right? Like it's that contextual thing for you. So yeah, I think those two are the kind of evil portrayed characters, because the stepbrother is evil. I mean, he's a psychopath. Like anyone started, and they showed that off with that first scene. He's a psychopath from a very early age. He's not just and you see what he turns into in his 20s or whatever he is. Yeah. And it's just, it's they kind of actually hold back a little bit, like what they could have done. Like I was like, I forgot, I had never watched all this movie before. I thought he was going to kill the dad, and they kind of held back from that and held back with the Rottweiler. They just used the Rottweiler for the most predictable scene in the whole movie, but it's the scene that you're like, when it happens when she bites his dick off with her vagina dentata, and then like fucking drops it on the floor, and of course that asshole has his dick pierced. He's got a Prince Albert, and then the dog eats it. And the best part about it is like how sad the kid gets when he's like, the dog eats it, and then the dog just spits out the head with the like fucking Prince Albert.
It was glorious.
It is glorious. That last shot where she just turned, like, it's kind of like, it almost reminds me of Memoirs of a Murder, Josh, where, you know, like he looks at the camera, like, you know, like, oh, I know the killer's watching this. And it's that contextual, like in this, she's like, oh, I know you're watching this. And this motherfucker's about to get his, like that. What's he do? He's like,
Yeah.
like the creepy old dude. You're just like, so yeah. Okay. Ken, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before you get out of here with this?
Nope. Like I said, I think you should watch it, and then I think you should watch it again.
It's
I did.
It's a weird movie in a lot of ways, and it, like, if you have to, like, and that's why I brought up the satire, because I had never, it's like probably been 10 years since I tried to watch it. It's very over the top, especially the first like third of the movie with the purity stuff, because Ken's been talking about the whole episode, that stuff's real extreme in real life, and I think they turn it up a little more to get the point across to why this happens, the cult like aspects of it, the brainwashing, all that stuff. Like, dude, it, like this scene after she takes the first dude out and she's just ripping that shit off the wall, because it's all about like, they warp their minds to like, oh yeah, you have to do this. So like the ultimate day for these kids is like the wedding day, because they finally don't have to like hold back anymore, right? It's like the thing where like you finally get to be a human being. You don't have to wait. You're not doing this bullshit for God crap, you know? And or she's just tearing all that shit off the wall because she realizes it's just bullshit, or is it guilt? I think it's like really guilt for her, even though like,
I think part of it's guilt. I think a lot of it's guilt. A lot of it's, yeah, she's like never going to be pure now. Like, and that's a lot of guilt that people carry. That's a lot of guilt that even if you do so willingly, like, you know, I struggled with that. Like, yeah. I struggled with that a lot, because I was like, I'm no longer pure. Good.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you've got people in like, you know, certain communities that still view it that way and will, you know, say things that, like, I laugh it off and I think it's funny, and we have a good guffaw whenever Dante shows up and talks about seals being broken and whatever. But in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, it's funny to me as an adult because I've lived it and can laugh it off. It's not funny knowing that people actually have to deal with it. Yep. I make light of it because I feel like you can't take everything so heavy-handed all the time or you'll be miserable.
Yeah.
But like, there are people that, you know, especially right at the beginning, you're like, I'm ruined. Like, that was her entire life. They did a great job of emphasizing that was her entire existence, and it was gone.
Yeah.
And then who are you? What good are you? What value do you possess?
I mean, and it's like, it was like a cult because the recruiting stuff. Like, doesn't the one kid go, oh, we got like 20 kids to sign up? That's in, like, it's such a minor detail, like, while you're watching it, but you think about it after, you're like, holy shit. Also, was the first dude that died, was he talking about fucking a girl in the ass because he goes, I was pure, I'm still pure in the eyes of God? Was that like, he was referencing? Because
it could be, or it could be that he had, I almost said messaged God, had prayed to God to redeem him of his sins and make him a born again virgin, because born again virginity is a thing that exists in religion.
What's that song about the two girls that did comedy shows and stuff like that? Like it's like Oates and what, I forget what the name of it are, but like they have the song about taking it in the ass because it's okay in the eyes of Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's that whole like soaking thing that some people say is not true and some people say is true, where like you can do insertion, you just can't move, so people will like insert and then have a friend jump on the bed. Like,
Yes. So the
shit
song
like
is
that.
the song is called "The Loophole" by Garfunkel and Oates. Do you two know this song?
I've heard that
Because
song, yeah.
yeah, it's very relative, so you should listen to it if you know about like it's. Those two have been in a lot of comedy stuff. Like the one girl was one of the main characters on like Big Bang Theory, or they both were on Big Bang Theory. But yeah, so that song is really relevant to all this. So okay, we can wrap up. We are not doing a movie next week. Next week we're going to do our wrap up of our favorite. Are we doing 10 or 5 favorites?
I think we did 5 last year, because if we do 10, it ends up being like a crazy number.
Oh, so we could do. I think we all did honorable mentions last year, but like,
Yeah.
and then like, just we'll go over those real quick and then do our top 5. And Josh is ADHD'd out so hard that he's not going to hear it.
I just want to thank people for listening to me ramble about teeth and purity culture. I've been really excited about it. I wanted to do more of a deep dive into purity culture, but
Dude, I can't believe
there's so much.
This episode flew. Like, I swear to God, this was like the fastest flying episode we've ever done. Like, I looked over and I said like it was like over an hour, and I'm like, holy shit, because this stuff's all so interesting, and you killed it, Ken. And I was excited to do this because like this. I mean, I'm not like I grew up in Ohio, so it wasn't like the South, but it was like Ohio's one of those weird like half and half places that like it goes back and forth between like both sides of it, but like.
Well, I mean, I nannied for a homeschooled religious group family for years, and they were very, very anti-sex, very anti, hell, they went on a raw only food diet for a few years. Like, they were very extremist when it came to stuff like that. I don't know why they let me in the house, but they did. I took really good care of the kids. Like, that was the only thing I could figure.
I mean, Ken, again, you're a sweetheart and a wonderful lady. So you give yourself more credit, Ken.
I'm just saying I wasn't as religious as
Yeah.
they were. That's all I'm saying. Welcome back, sir. We've decided on 5 movies for next week and then some honorable mentions.
Yeah. You good, Josh?
Stretching.
Okay.
Okay,
cool. Okay, everybody. Thank you for listening. Next week is that. So go to murdermoose.com. Follow all that stuff there. Watch our episodes. Go to youtube.com and search the Murder Moose podcast. You can find us there and subscribe to our podcast on there. Go to Kintinue.com where you get all her links. Go to Joshwrb.com and get all his stuff. And I am Rod_Johnston on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. And guys, this is our last episode of 2023. So thank you for listening. 2023 has been a fucking shit show, but we love you guys and we appreciate you all. So, yeah, we'll catch you guys next week for our top movies of 2023. Thank you for listening. You guys are wonderful. And we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
It's in the game.